Hello, everyone. My name is Elizabeth Torrey, and I'm the Assistant Education Director at the Early Learning Center and Lower School Programs at Perkins School for the Blind and Conference Co-Chair. It's my distinct pleasure to welcome you to the 37th Annual Early Connections Conference. Our theme this year is Expanding Your Child's Potential. And you're joining history with us today, making some history, because this is our very first virtual Early Connections Conference. You are part of an international community participating in this event, which we hope you will find compelling, as children throughout the world and their families need support. And Perkins is proud to help support these families through events like this and other activities. More than 700 people have registered, hailing from 44 US states and 33 countries, including Indonesia, Bhutan, Gambia, and Qatar. We warmly welcome all of you to our conference and thank you for joining us. Before introducing our keynote speaker, Burju Sari, I'd like to briefly highlight some elements of our week-long program. This conference is designed for families of children with visual impairment, blindness, and deafblindness, birth to 7 years old, and the professionals who support them. Over the week, you'll have opportunities to connect with one another, speak with experts, and learn new skills that will help each child reach their full potential. Sessions will touch on a range of topics, from financial planning for 2 generations to orientation and mobility in a child's first 7 years, from building an effective advocacy team to the technology available to improve a child's learning. You'll also find content on cortical cerebral visual impairment and on expanding your child's visual potential. There's something for everyone, so we hope you'll view as many of the pre-recorded sessions as possible and attend the live question and answer events to ensure you get the most out of the week. There are 8 of these pre-recorded presentations you can watch on demand this week, as well as after the conference, so you can watch, rewatch, or share with family and friends, and we hope you will. The sessions are listed on our event page, and you'll find the links through our email communication about the conference. If you have questions about any of the presentations, please email us at earlyconnections@perkins.org. You can also submit questions in the chat box where my conference co-host and co-chair, Jessica Brown, will be monitoring the content. The live question and answer sessions with our other featured presenters will be held on Wednesday, June 24th at 2 p.m., Wednesday, June 24th at 7:30 p.m., and Friday, June 26th at 2 p.m. Immediately following the last Q&A session, we'll be hosting a live wrap-up session on Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Please note that we'll be recording the keynote address today and we'll have a replay available later in the week. Only the panelists will be visible on the replay, and we ask that you keep your microphones muted and cameras turned off during today's presentation. One last quick note, we have closed captioning available, so click on the closed captioning button at the bottom of the screen to access it. If you want more in-depth instructions, please go to our website at perkins.org/earlycc. And now we're ready to get started. To officially kick off the 37th Early Connections Conference, it is my pleasure to introduce the President of Educational Programs and Superintendent at Perkins School for the Blind, Ed Basso. Ed?
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I am Ed Basso, President of Educational Programs, and I'm so excited to be here for our first ever virtual ECC program. I think Elizabeth already said that, but I was astounded. Last week, we were talking about maybe 300 or 400 participants, and now I think we have over 800 registrants. That's so amazing, and representing over 40 states and 30 countries. It's just astounding. So I'm so excited for today. But today it is my distinct honor and pleasure to introduce the ECC keynote speaker, Burju Sari. And I promise you, you are all in for an amazing treat today. Burju is a parent of 2 boys, one with cortical cerebral visual impairment, CVI. She is also a teacher of the visually impaired at Perkins School in the community programs. I'm pretty sure that Burju has always understood that knowledge is power, but since the identification of her son, she has been on a never-ending learning journey. And she has an unquenchable thirst for learning and a commensurate desire to grow and share what she's learned with others. So today, I think you're going to be in for some incredible sharing. There's one quote by Friedrich Nietzsche that I think would be appropriate. He said something, I'm going to paraphrase it. He said something like, he or she who has the why to live can endure almost any how. And I think that Burju exemplifies that. She has been on this quest to figure out the how for CVI and serving not only her son, but other students. And today we are so fortunate to have an invitation to join Burju on what will be an empowering journey for all. So again, it is my pleasure to introduce Burju Sari. As you listen and learn from Burju, I am confident that you will be even more prepared to expand your child's potential. So enjoy the remainder of the conference, enjoy this talk today, and thank you so much for joining us. We're so proud to have you part of our conference.
Thank you very much, Ed. It's an honor to be part of Perkins family. Hi, everyone. My name is Burju Sari. I'm a mother of almost 10-year-old twin boys, one with cerebral palsy and cortical cerebral visual impairment. I'm also a teacher of visually impaired at Perkins School for the Blind. First of all, I just want to thank everyone who gave me this opportunity to share my journey with you. Back in 2011, at my first ECC conference that I attended with my husband, I promised myself that I want to use my voice to help as many people as I can. Although I wasn't quite sure at what level I believed it was going to happen one day. I guess the universe heard me, and here I am talking to the most incredible group of people who are trying to help each one another. So thank you for that. Today, I'm here to tell you Ömer's story. Ömer is a very handsome and charming superhero with incredible skills. Here are my boys. Demir is on the left and Ömer is on the right on both photos. Ömer has cerebral palsy and cortical cerebral visual impairment, which I will refer to as CVI during my speech. Almost 10 years ago, at 31 weeks of pregnancy, on August 3rd, my lovely husband and I had the most adorable premature twins here in the US, miles and miles away from our loved ones. That day, we weren't aware that we were starting a unique journey that will change a lot of people's lives. It was the first time we heard about prematurity and its complications, APGAR scores, CPAP, and cystic proventricular leukomalacia, which I still cannot spell or pronounce. Here is Ömer. Ömer had a very difficult birth. I know it's supposed to be a memorable moment for us, but it wasn't. He didn't cry for about 3.5 minutes after he was born. They needed to intubate him to bring him back to life. While my first hero was fighting for his life, his best buddy Demir was still waiting his turn. I was extremely worried that Ömer didn't cry, so I really couldn't focus on the birth process. So my husband and I were trying to make the scene look normal because we were videotaping and we were going to watch all together later when boys were older. And this was going to be our most important and the most beautiful memory together. Yes, it was the most important, but wasn't the most beautiful. After a very long 3.5 minutes, I heard Ömer's weak cry like a little chick. So I remember telling my husband, there you go, he cried. It was very dramatic and quiet for an OR, which I didn't want to pay attention to. It was almost like 30 people in the room, but it was very quiet, which was unusual. And our second most adorable hero, Demir, came right after a very long 9 minutes. I think it was the longest 9 minutes of my life. He cried very loud as soon as he was out, and he's still very loud. Then I looked at my husband more worried because I knew that something was wrong with Ömer. I wasn't worried about the fact that Demir cried so loud. I was really worried about Ömer. After they got everything under control, they brought my babies to me. I couldn't touch them or smell them. I was able to see them from 3 feet away before they were taken to the NICU, where they were going to stay for the first 6 weeks of their lives. That's their first photo together in NICU. And I remember that day, the nurse was so excited to put them together. I think that was the first time they were together. When they were 1 week old, boys had their first head ultrasound, which was a routine for all NICU babies. The results were not good for Ömer. He had a bleeding in his brain that we didn't know if it was an active bleeding. So they said that they needed to wait 48 hours to do another one to see if the bleeding was still going on. Demir's head ultrasound was nice and clean, but again, we couldn't celebrate that either. After very long 48 hours, the second head ultrasound results came back normal, which means the bleeding stopped. Now looking back, I wish someone had told me that his brain could have impacted from that bleeding. The doctors and nurses, they were all so happy and they were celebrating that the bleeding stopped. For some reason, we couldn't celebrate it. I remember telling my husband, I hope everything will be normal. It did not end up being normal. When boys were about like 45 days old, they did another head ultrasound. Since all the head ultrasounds were coming back normal, I wasn't worried anymore. I arrived at the NICU that day, and the nurse told me that the neurology team wanted to talk with me about Ömer. I had a bad feeling, so I asked them to wait until my husband comes from work. After my husband came, the neurology team arrived immediately, which is not usual. To be honest, it was very blurry after they started talking. That's the only day I can't remember clearly. But I heard the term brain injury and everything kind of like stopped. Doctor and the team was talking, but I couldn't hear anything. I started asking them very nonsense, silly questions like, is it gonna get any better? Or is there a surgery that can fix his brain? Can you please help him? Kind of questions. And I know they were kind of shocked about my question. They were not expecting my questions. The only thing I remember clearly is how insensitive he was. The neurologist smiled at me and said that it will never get any better or worse. After my endless nonsense questions, he started explaining to us what it will look like in future. A couple of quotes that I remember from that conversation are, he said that it's like a scar that will stay there forever. And then Ömer will probably be in a wheelchair. And then he also said that his brain injury type is cystic TVL, which means it's all over his brain and it's very significant, but it will most likely affect his legs more than other parts. He will most likely be severely cognitively impaired and nonverbal. And then at the end, he asked us if we are ready to talk about future more in detail. We were not ready for the future. Immediately, my husband and I agreed that it was okay. He can be in a wheelchair and play basketball or any other sports in his wheelchair, or he can get married with someone who is in a wheelchair as long as he's healthy. Another important thing I remember for sure is they never talked about CVI, which is very common with this type of brain injury and prematurity. I left the room. I left my babies and my husband in NICU, and I ran away to find the closest exit. I needed to cry, screaming. I needed to exit that moment to process what was going on. Still today, when I go to the movies, when they say, please locate the closest exit, I go back to that day. Yes, it is a scar that will stay there forever, just like the neurologist said that day. But guess what? I'm stronger and getting stronger each day as I'm looking at that scar. And I still run away to be alone when I need to, as everyone else in this call, but I come back stronger. All the nurses were mourning with us in NICU as we were getting ready for the discharge date. And finally, after a very long 6 weeks, boys came home. That was the big day. And here's their first photo at our house. We were so excited. A team of wonderful EI therapists started coming to our house every day since both boys were receiving services, and we had the most wonderful EI team. When Ömer was about 3 months old, I started getting worried about his visual behaviors. So in this photo, Ömer is on the right, as you can see, and the right photo, his adorable look. And he was only looking at lights and some toys for a very short period of time. He also hated baby toys, and especially the gym mat where you hang toys and kids lay down, like the babies lay down under it and look at the toys. Ömer hated them. He was screaming if we were outside at a restaurant or grocery stores. So we always had to cover him or like take him out for frequent breaks. Our EIPT started getting worried as well. I asked her opinion and she said he could be in the spectrum since he has some autistic behaviors, which I had no idea what she was talking about. Immediately I said, no, he's not autistic. And I needed to prove it. So my husband and I decided to take Ömer to an ophthalmologist when he was about 4 months old. He had a normal eye exam with a strabismus diagnosis, which is an eye turn. So he got his first prescription glasses and the doctor said that they should help with his eye turn. And he loved his first pair of glasses. This is his first photo with his first pair of glasses. Although I appreciated her input about the eye turn, I knew there was something else going on. I know he wasn't blind, but there was something else going on. So he blinked with a significant delay when I touched his bridge of nose. Later on, our TVI asked me where I learned that from, and I just told her it was mother instinct. Or he was noticing me in 4 or 5 seconds after I walked by his crib, which was very different than his brother's visual reaction. So I told my service coordinator that I wasn't satisfied with strabismus diagnosis only and asked her what else we could do. She asked me if I would like to have a functional vision assessment from a teacher of visually impaired. I was very overwhelmed with the amount of people coming to our house every day. So my initial reaction to a new team member was negative. I know it sounds funny, but I think I was scared of finding out something else on top of everything else going on. So I wanted to think about it. After a couple of days, my husband and I decided to meet with a TVI from Perkins and tell her that we don't want ongoing services, but just a one-time visit for an assessment. I didn't know that day was going to change my life. So we met with Ellen Maisel. She was extremely nice and full of knowledge. And for the first time, someone was telling me that it is going to get better. So I remember after that visit, I called my mom, who is in Turkey, and she doesn't speak English. And I told her I met someone, a teacher from Perkins, and she told me everything will get better, Mom. Can you believe it? Immediately, she asked me if I understood her correctly, because my English was very limited back then. So she wasn't sure if I understood the English part. So Ellen explained to me what CVI is and its characteristics. I was very confused and puzzled with the term cortical cerebral visual impairment. Everything that she was telling me about CVI explained Ömer's visual behaviors. I was kind of relieved because I had an answer about his behaviors. I asked Ellen so many questions and got amazed with her answers. And it all started, questions, more questions, and then they all turned into stories and memories that I was witnessing with Ömer each day. I remember asking Ellen if CVI is a rare condition due to the fact that we never heard about it or none of the doctors in NICU mentioned it. She started telling me about the CVI world and how much work needs to be done in terms of getting the right and early diagnoses, educating teams, parents, and everyone who's involved in this world. Our conversations were getting deeper and broader. It was very overwhelming, but exciting at the same time. I started thinking about why nobody knew about CVI. In fact, it's the most common visual impairment in the US and other developed countries. When I started to realize that we have the power of knowledge and resources, what we really need to do is believe in our kids and students. As I was learning more about CVI and TVIs who are dedicated to helping people to get the diagnosis and the right intervention, I found myself reading Dr. Roman's CVI book with a dictionary. And then I asked Ellen for a medical dictionary, and next time she brought me a dictionary of eye terminology. So I found myself researching everything about CVI. Once I started processing the basic knowledge of CVI, it was time to start adapting toys and Ömer's environment according to his visual needs with Ellen's help. So when Ömer was about 5 months old, Ellen did Ömer's first CVI range, and Ömer scored 1.5 out of 10 on the range, which placed him in phase 1. But I wasn't scared anymore because I was informed and dedicated. First, we changed our living room, got rid of the couch with crazy patterns and got a plain one. We changed the carpet and lighting. Although my husband wasn't super happy with the expenses I was making, I could tell Ömer loved the changes. He was calmer, happier, and more awake during the day. Every visit with Ellen was a new lesson and practice. I think Ellen was very proud of me because every time she gave me an idea, I did my best to take it a step further. At least I tried my best. Then she started telling me that I should look into going back to college to become a TVI. I told her that I recently completed the MBA program right before I had my baby. So I said, no way, I'm not going back to graduate school. She insisted that I should consider that again when boys start the preschool in 2013. So many of us whose kids have CVI have been told by an ophthalmologist that their eyes are fine. So we asked Ellen to come with us to our next ophthalmology appointment. We were lucky because our doctor did not tell us it was delayed visual maturation, or there was nothing else we could do, or his visual behaviors were a result of his strabismus, the eye turn, so we should wait and see. Instead, our doctor listened to us. She asked questions and observed Ömer during the visit. At the end of our visit, she said that CVI will be Ömer's official diagnosis and he should be registered with Mass Commission for the Blind. We celebrated it. I know it sounds funny, but maybe the first thing we celebrated so far, an official CVI diagnosis. It was the first time I felt so powerful and accomplished. We started explaining to our EI team what they should be doing when they're working with Ömer. I threw away the gym mat that Ömer hated and cried all the time. I started using adaptive toys, like simple ones. People started using the term CVI and its characteristics instead of autism. I started believing that nothing is impossible. So I was moving into the next phase, acceptance. Let me tell you a little about the phases we went through. We went through 3 different phases during our journey, and we are still moving back and forth from time to time. When I first heard about Ömer's brain injury in EQ, I immediately denied it. I was in the denial phase. When I woke up in the middle of the night, I was going into the boys' room and watching them quietly for hours and comparing them. They both looked the same. They smiled and cried the same. So how could one of them be significantly impaired? I didn't want to accept that. I wasn't ready for it, I guess. So it took me a while to figure out that things were not going to stay the same. After many, many months, maybe a year, I moved into the anger phase. I was very angry with friends, family, doctors, and even God. But mostly I was angry with myself that maybe I did something wrong that caused his brain injury. It was a very long, painful phase. I was grieving and suffering, but didn't have time to take care of myself. Once Demir started sitting up or pulling to stand, we realized that we should start telling friends and family about Ömer's condition. One of the things I regret today is that we couldn't celebrate Demir's every single milestone, like when he first set up on his own or took his first step. I was feeling so bad for Ömer, who was laying down on the floor most of the time. So I owe Demir a huge apology for that. People didn't understand CVI as much as they understood cerebral palsy. But I kept telling them about CVI, such as don't speak to Ömer when he's trying to look at things, or like give him some extra time to process what he's looking at. Or can you please face him away from windows or light sources so he can really focus on the target, kind of things. And when Ömer was 2.5 years old, we started getting ready to transition into preschool. Tough days. He was going to meet with a new group of people who had no idea about CVI. Again, Ellen and I worked on every single step to prepare Ömer and his team for a new chapter. Ellen did another CVI range and he scored around 5 on the CVI range, which placed him in phase 2. To me, it was an incredible growth. He was still struggling to sit up or crawl, but at least he can connect with his world using his vision. His amazing preschool teacher was willing to learn more about CVI, so she took Ellen's CVI class at UMass Boston, and we made sure it was written on the IEP under the additional information. But the challenge was getting more intense as we were moving into the new world. We were more prepared and powerful with the knowledge, so I was ready for it. To be honest, each year it gets harder. As he's moving up on the CVI range, the characteristics of CVI that he's still struggling with become less salient. The school team was underestimating my concerns when I told them Ömer still doesn't have the facial recognition, or he can't see distance because as he gets further away from the target, the complexity of array increases. They didn't believe me. So I wanted to show them what I meant. So I went to pick up Ömer from school, which was unusual because he comes home with a van, with the school van. So I was waiting for him at the end of the hallway while his aide was pushing his wheelchair. And I motioned her to be quiet. As he got closer, I blocked his way at 3 feet distance. He changed his route and then I took another step to block him again. And he got very upset and said, "Excuse me." So I looked at him, but didn't smile because he knows my smile, he can recognize it. So he asked for help from his aide, telling her that the lady who's blocking my way doesn't speak English. So everyone started laughing, but they were shocked. He did not recognize his own mom at 3 feet distance. Then finally, Ömer said, "Do not tease me again in front of other people again, mommy." So that was the end of it. There are still times I need to justify people that we see the effect of CVI every single day because we live with it. So I started taking notes and making videos of him. This way I can share them with people if I need to. When school is preparing for a field trip, I'm worried about Ömer's visual access more than his physical access. Because even if he has the most accessible chair, if he cannot process or understand what he's looking at, he will not have fun. For instance, when we go on family trips, I try to make special CVI videos of Ömer because those are the moments I see the CVI problems more frequently. His CVI is more obvious because he's in an unfamiliar environment. So we call it CVI problems because we can solve it. In the meantime, the day boys started preschool, Ellen called to remind me of the registration day for the TVI program. The fire in my heart was huge and it turned into a passion. So I accepted the challenge and enrolled in the UMass Boston TVI program in 2013. My dream was working with EI families to grow that fire. I believe the early intervention makes a huge difference. It made us stronger and powerful. Now it was my turn to give it back. In 2015, our lovely social worker, Ruth Silverstein, who facilitated the parent group when we were attending infant toddler class at Perkins, emailed me. She was asking me if I would like to work as an infant toddler teacher, TVI, at Perkins. I couldn't believe it. So I had my husband read that email maybe 5 times before I replied. And here I am. I am a part of an amazing TVI team in the community programs at Perkins. Ömer is almost 10 years old now. He'll turn 10 in August. He scores 8 on the CVI range. He loves reading, playing wheelchair basketball, riding his bike. He also loves playing video games and fast roller coasters. If you meet Ömer, you wouldn't know he has a visual impairment. Of course, if you are not a vision expert. That's great, but has a lot of disadvantages. People don't know that Ömer cannot maintain eye contact with faces. So that part impacts his social relationship with friends. He still doesn't have the facial recognition, especially with people he doesn't see very often. So if you are walking by Ömer in a grocery store or library, you should initiate and say hello so he can recognize your voice. When his friends are talking about some concepts that are indistinct or abstract, he usually misses them unless someone explains what's going on. I have a great example for that. So when we went to Montreal last year, Ömer got so overwhelmed and tired with the places we were visiting, so we needed to find a very quiet restaurant. He was physically and visually so fatigued. In the restaurant, they served us a room temperature water. So after a while, Demi realized the bubbles in the glass and told us how cool it is without mentioning the glass. Here is the picture of it. So Ömer kept asking, what is it? What is it? What are you talking about, guys? So then we showed him the glass, but we didn't tell him exactly what it is. We said, oh, here it is. We were looking at the glass. And he found it so cool. And he said, oh, that's so cool. When I asked Ömer what he was seeing, he said that he sees a glass of water with salt in it. So it was the first time Ömer was seeing bubbles in the water. So it was a new experience for him. But if I didn't ask what he was seeing, I wouldn't have known that he was misunderstanding it. As I said before, Ömer loves reading. He's at the same level with his peers if he has the right tools such as large print, a reading guide, and appropriate lighting. Last year, Ömer's reading assessment was lower than I expected, so I asked the school team to repeat it with a book that has simple images and bigger fonts. I also asked them to do it first thing in the morning when he's not fatigued. Guess what? 1 week later, he jumped up 2 levels than his previous assessment. So we were so proud of him. Ömer is a great advocate for himself. He can ask for his own accommodations. The only time he doesn't is when he doesn't want to look different from his friends or peers. There are still days he doesn't accept that he has CVI. He knows very well how to hide it. So I would like to share a video of Ömer from 2 years ago talking about his CVI. Hi, Ömer.
Hi.
Can you tell us about yourself?
Okay. I have vision impairment.
How old are you?
8.
Okay.
And I have CVI.
Okay.
And,
What is CVI?
CVI is cortical visual impairment.
Okay. When did you get it?
When I was a baby.
Okay. So does that mean that you see things differently?
When I was a baby, I couldn't see, like, we went kite flying when I was a little baby, and I couldn't see, I couldn't see the kite, so you helped me.
Oh, okay. What else that you remember that you couldn't see?
I couldn't see white stuff.
Okay. What is your favorite color? What was your favorite color when you were little?
Oh,
Always
red.
because you see red better?
Yeah.
Okay, that's different.
And when Mommy, it has a red shirt, I can find her easily.
Oh, okay. Okay, I got it. What else helps you?
Glasses.
Okay. Ömer, in the classroom, if you can't see something, what could be the reason?
Visual impairment.
So how can you help yourself? How can you ask for help?
I can say, hey, I can't see it.
Okay, how can they help you to see better?
Fold the piece of paper.
What does that mean?
Like, like I write a lot.
Uh-huh.
And I'm looking somewhere else and I don't know where I stopped writing.
Oh, okay. What helps you?
To fold the piece of paper.
Okay.
Oh, and I had a reading guide thing, but it's I don't know where it is.
Okay. Do you have difficulty finding your friends during recess?
No.
No?
Well, I know where my friends always go
How do you know?
because they always go wherever they go.
How do you find them?
I just look around.
Okay.
That's it.
How do you find mommy in grocery stores?
Usually dimmer. My brother pushes me
Okay. Why do you look at the light all the time?
because I don't know. It's like I think it's helping me
Helping you how?
to see better. Like I'm testing myself. See if I could see bright stuff.
So, can you look at my eyes now?
Yeah.
Like, let's see if you really... What happened?
You're squishing.
Oh, sorry. Look at me. Can you look at my eyes?
Yeah.
Look at my eye. You're not looking at my eyes.
Okay.
Is it hard to look at my eyes?
No.
No?
Okay, I'm looking.
See, you're not looking at my
Yes, I
eyes.
am.
No, you're looking at my forehead.
Okay.
Is it hard to look at eyes?
Yeah.
I know. Why do you think it's hard to look at eyes?
Because my eyes are like this all the time.
Emma, you know what? I love you. You're the best.
Mm,
So, you know how to help your visual impairment, right? What are the things that we ask for?
glasses,
Okay?
fold the piece of paper.
To make it simple, right?
Yeah.
Less complexity, right?
Yeah.
That's the slogan that we use. Less complex. Say it again.
Let's compass a
You don't like busy stuff, right?
No.
Okay, what else? Get closer, right?
Yeah, that's it.
If it is too far, what happens?
I can't see.
Okay.
Like, if I take my glasses off, it's fuzzy.
Okay.
And when I put them on, I can see better.
Is it still a little bit fuzzy? With
Yeah.
the glasses? Oh, is that CVI?
Yeah.
But why did you say that you don't have CVI like a month ago? You were like, no, I don't have CVI. Why did you say that? Because you didn't want to have a CVI?
No, well, I was afraid people would make fun of me.
Oh, no, honey. You're perfect. And that's okay if you have a visual impairment. You're no different. You know that, right?
But not a lot of people have visual impairment.
Guess what? Does mommy know a lot of people with visual
Yeah,
impairment?
Helen.
Ellen doesn't have visual impairment, but Ellen was your teacher.
Helen.
Helen Keller, yes, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know her. I wish I did, but she lived,
She died.
yeah, many, many years ago.
She died when she was a couple weeks before her 88th birthday.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What else do you know about Helen Keller?
She couldn't understand words, and when she was a year and a half old, she got a fever. A couple days later, her fever was gone, but she started to be blind and deaf.
Oh, okay. How did she feel about it?
She almost never smiled,
Oh.
and she cried
For what?
for like her visual impairment and blind and deaf.
Maybe life was difficult. But did it get easier for her?
Yeah. Yeah, when Annie's answering, because she taught her how to understand words, and she got to see very well.
Okay. Wow, you know the story. I'm amazed. Thank you for reading that book.
Okay.
All right, you want to say bye?
Yeah, bye.
Thanks for talking to us, Ömer.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye. How much money?
Ömer and his amazing brother Demir are a great team, and they believe that there is nothing that they cannot succeed together. They complete each other in a very special, unique way. I always believe that there is a purpose Ömer is here. He is the glitter of my life, and every single person that he meets gets a little of his glitter. He is the message of hope, love, and faith. He gave me those precious gifts to offer others, and I'll do my best. And I would like to finish with one of my favorite quotes from Helen Keller. Be of a good cheer. Do not think of today's failures, but of the success that may come tomorrow. You will succeed if you persevere, and you will find joy in overcoming obstacles. Thank you so much for listening, everyone.
Okay. Oh, Burju, thank you so much for sharing your powerful and inspirational story and just letting us into your family and being part of that journey with you for a little while today. I just really, I'll speak for all of us. Thank you. Thank you so much.
It was an honor. Thank you.
The video was actually so amazing. And I will just say that it seemed like a few people might have had trouble hearing it. So we said we'll be able to share that with people later.
Good.
So we are going to have time for some questions for Burju. But before we get started, I just want to say I want everybody to still stay on mute, please, and keep your cameras off and put your messages and questions into the chat box, and we'll be grabbing them from there. So while people are writing in their questions, I have a question for you to get started, Burju. What would be the first place to start if a child is newly diagnosed with CVI?
If your child got diagnosed with CVI, if your child is in early intervention program, I think that will be great to start with a functional vision assessment and CVI range, actually, for kids with CVI. So I think getting in touch with your service coordinator through early intervention would be great. But if your child is school age, I think you need to get a CVI assessment to be able to see where your child is at, and then also finding the right adaptations and accommodations according to the vision needs. So I think finding a CVI, a TVI who is experienced with CVI in your area would be the starting point.
Okay, great. Thank you. I have some more questions. They're starting to come in. Do you feel like it is ever too late to get started in improving CVI and vision impairment that goes with it?
It's never late. It's never late. And improvement is one of the things with CVI. And I remember when Ellen and I met that day, when she was telling me that it was going to get better, that was the first thing that she told me. CVI is the only visual impairment that gets better. So it got stuck with me. That's why maybe I believed it and I wanted to really fight for it. Like, I'm gonna make it known for everyone that CVI gets better. So I think it's never late. So you should start as soon as you learn it's CVI.
Okay. Where can parents go for parent support? It sounds like, you had some people helping you, but in a lot of ways you were on your own trying to figure things out. But do you have any advice?
So Elizabeth, it's really interesting. 10 years ago, when I went Google CVI, just like I did for cerebral palsy, I couldn't find any resources. It was very limited. So it was really difficult to find the right resources. But right now we have great resources for parents' connection with other parents. There are great websites. And also I think Perkins website has tremendous, resources that everyone can start with. But also, like, there are some Facebook groups that I followed. Like, also Ellen's, website is a great resource, and she always, shares the latest, resource parents can follow. I think those are the starting points. And once, if your child is in the early intervention, it's easy to find the network, honestly, but once your child is in the school, it's more difficult to find the other people with, the same condition. But we are so fortunate to have great resources today. So Teach CVI, Ellen's website are great resources for parents.
That's great to share. Thank you. Someone's asking, my IEP team will need more education on CVI, and I am in touch with the Tracy. I'm not sure. Mm-hmm. How do you get your team to be more receptive to your child's needs? What can a mother do?
Right. That's a great question. It is a challenge. I'll be honest. But when you are more dedicated and more knowledgeable, people start believing you. I think one of the things that you can do is get in a training for your teams who are working with your kids directly. If your child doesn't have a TVI, you can get in touch with Perkins and they do assessments. And you can connect your school with the assessment team and then go from there. But if you have a TVI, I think you can request a CVI range or CVI assessment from your TVI and then make planning around it. I think in-service training, which is like a team meeting and then team education about CVI is really important. That's very critical. So I think that's a starting point.
That's great. Here's something really relevant to right now. Is Amar participating in remote learning, and what types of modifications did you have to do at home to make sure he'd be successful for remote learning?
It was a challenge. It's over. I'm so glad it's over, but it was a challenge because it was so fast. Everything, the live sessions were so fast paced, so he couldn't keep up. So what we did is we did a lot of repetition. We recorded the session, we watched it again. So, and they both are in separate classrooms, but they follow the same homework and everything during the distance learning. So it was easy, but it was really difficult for me to see how different they are in terms of the pace. So we did a lot of repetition, accommodation. I needed to use some special apps to simplify things. So yeah, we needed to work around. And I reached out to his TVI from school to get ideas and his technology teacher, to be able to get support. I think getting support as a parent, you can't do everything. So this is my biggest recommendation. The school team thinks that I'm a TVI, so I can help Amar a lot. No, Amar needs a TVI. I'm a mom and I can't be his TVI. So getting the support is most important. If you have the support, just ask for help, which I didn't in the beginning, which I regret so much. But get the support, ask for help, go out there, ask other parents, what do they do? It's great that you are here today. That's a step, right? That's a huge step.
That's great, because everybody's getting to hear your words of wisdom too here, which is wonderful. Someone's asking, do you feel like we need to see Dr. Roman in person? Her wait list is something like 18 months or more. Yeah.
I don't know Dr. Roman's CVI assessment I think she's doing some distance. I'm not sure, Elizabeth, the details, honestly, but I know that, in your area, you can find other people who are CVI endorsed or experienced with CVI to get the range if you don't want to wait for 18 months.
Okay. What's the one thing as a parent you'd want a teacher to know about CVI?
So again, I'm going to go back what Ellen said, because everything she said always gets stuck with me. She always told me that the most dangerous person is who says that person knows everything. So every day when I wake up, I always say that there is a lot to learn. I never say that, oh, I know CVI. I'm a CVI endorsed TVI, right? I have been doing researches and I live with CVI since 2010. Although I'm a teacher since 2015, I'm a CVI parent since 2010. But I still have a lot to learn. So I think learning is the key, because the resources, everything has been changing. You have to keep up. Networking is so important. People who are in this world, the CVI world, you need to be connected with them. I think learning is the key. With the kids, you have to be with them all the time to be able to learn. I can't learn CVI from books or websites. I need to live with CVI. So I work with CVI, my students who have CVI very closely, and just to get the experience and to live with them, how they kind of like live through the day, and how parents are, need support. So it's hard.
Yeah, and hearing your story, it does sound hard, but you've been doing such an amazing job. Someone is wondering then, along those lines, how do you balance both of your children's parenting needs?
The challenge. That's a great question. It's difficult. It's very difficult because every year it changes a little bit. Their needs are changing, and I think as they get older, I kind of feel like Omar is having difficulty keeping up. Also, his brother is very emotional. Demir is very emotional, very sensitive, and he is watching, observing everything. So we have to be very careful about what we say, what we do, what we feel. It's hard. Omar has hard time making friends. So whenever Demir has an invitation for a play date, we have to come up with a plan. I text my friends, I say, can we have a play date? Demir is going to a play date and Omar is not invited. So I kind of like, I have to work extra hard. And I'm sure every parent who has it doesn't have to be same age. It's really hard. We couldn't go to playgrounds as much as other parents did because I didn't want to see other kids running around and screaming while Omar is in his stroller all the time. I wish I did because Demir missed so much, but that's what I could handle that day. So it's hard.
That's great. Thank you. So someone has a question about how did you encourage Omar to have the confidence and independence to explore his world when he was just a baby and toddler without the kind of visual stimulation that most babies have?
Right. I think it's his personality too. It helped me a lot. He has a very strong personality. There are days that he gets very upset with the fact that he can't walk. I think being a good role model in terms of how you look at life and how you persevere is very important. I think if we struggle with something, even a simple thing, let's say I'm cooking and I burn something, I kind of like say, oh, Omar, this is a great example. See, this is burned. I can take it back. How? I can make it from the beginning. So if you kind of mess up your homework, you can start from beginning, no worries. So kind of like trying to teach him along the way is very important. And I think his personality so well that I didn't need to work so hard. He's a great advocate for himself, but also for others. Like if we are upset with our dog, Casper, he always says, well, remember, mommy, he can't talk. So you have to be very nice to Casper. So his personality is a very important piece that I should give him credit on that.
Yeah. I think it sounds like you do give him credit. So that's terrific. Another question about school here. What features of a preschool would you look for when choosing a school when early intervention's coming to an end?
Can you repeat that again?
Yes. It's about when early intervention was ending and you were having to look at a preschool, what features of a preschool would be important to consider if your child has CVI? What would you be looking for?
Right. So for Omar, from a personal experience, we since Omar has had a disability and they both qualified for the public preschool in our district. So we didn't have to, we only went another place, which was a sub-separate, specialized just classroom setting. But we thought that Omar wouldn't fit in there. So I think what I recommend to my parents who are in the transition process, I usually make them write a list of things that they would want to see in a classroom, does teacher have any experience with visual impairments? Is she willing to learn more about CVI? Because CVI is a learning curve. It never ends. So you need to have someone in your team who is willing to learn about your kid every day and your kid's CVI. In fact, I need to emphasize this. A person might know CVI so well, but every child is a different book. So if you meet a child, you're reading a different book. So you need to really adapt yourself and your knowledge to that book. So you have to work with a flexible team. I think it really depends where your kid is, like if they have a multiple disability or not, like where they are on the CVI range, but making a list of things, what you think very important. For instance, my child needs a quiet environment to be able to learn. Simple environment, like a 101 aid or like a black background on the walls. Like those are the things are very important. And I think Perkins website has a great resource around that, how to support parents during that process. Yeah, I think
Thank you.
that's all I can think of right now.
You're thinking of so much. This is terrific. I have to say, and I hate to say this, we're really, really on the brink of running out of time. So we have time for just one more question.
Sure.
So I'm going to read this one. Classrooms are generally very visually stimulating and visually cluttered. What did the teacher do to accommodate the needs for visual simplicity in the classroom?
So first thing she did is Ellen went to the classroom and we kind of like observed other kids in the classroom, how they are doing, and some districts wouldn't allow that. So I just want to say that. And then and then she made a couple of recommendations, which are like doable ones, like taking down all the stuff hanging from the ceilings or the walls. So they didn't put anything on the wall or the ceiling. They made the table smaller because a bigger group would be hard to kind of like visually be in touch with them. So they used smaller tables. They kind of put shades. They changed the furniture to make it a high contrast with the floor. It was the same color with the floor, so they changed the furniture. We were very fortunate. They had an extra set of furniture, so they used a lighter furniture on a darker carpet. So that was helpful because Omar was in his wheelchair in the classroom, so he didn't have he would be safe. So they also changed the the steps, like they put tapes on the stairs if he needs to practice stairs during PT. The simple accommodation started in the beginning, but as he's in the school physically, they were able to see more things. Like they were saying, oh, you know what, Omar struggles with that, let's change that. So we can't expect everything to change in the beginning before the kid is in the classroom. But once they start, I think it makes more sense to teacher and say, let's do this. So it's going to help him to learn. Also, he had a separate section in the classroom with a beanbag. So when he's fatigued or tired, because he needed frequent breaks, so he can go there and just rest for 5-10 minutes to just load his battery back up again. So that's how we say it, his visual battery. So
that sounds like such a supportive environment for him then too, for his learning. So we're out of time for questions. So Burju, thank you so much again for coming here today and sharing this journey with all of us. And we have recorded this session, so we're going to post that so other people will have access to it, which is wonderful.
It was a pleasure. Thank you, Elizabeth.
Thank you. So I want to tell everybody that Burju will join us again during our live wrap-up session on Friday at 3 p.m. and EDT immediately following our last question and answer session at 2 o'clock on Friday. So please consider joining us for our 3 live question and answer sessions that are running during this week. Again, the times are Wednesday, June 24th at 2 p.m. and Wednesday, June 24th at 7:30 p.m. and again on Friday, June 26th at 2 p.m. So we'll be sending an email with links for all of these sessions that will be coming out tomorrow. And if you have any questions or can't find the Zoom links, please email us at earlyconnections@perkins.org. And thank you all again. I'm your host, Elizabeth Torrey. Hope to see you on Wednesday and our next live event. So if you missed any of the links, they're going to be coming up again. And this concludes our program for today. Bye.